What's up, everybody? Welcome into Fantasy Fire and Ice NFL edition, brought to you by Sportstopia. I'm your host, Simon, joined today by our special guest, producer Keith, coming up to talk some ball with you guys on this Wednesday. What's up, Keith?
What's up? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing
so
all right.
excited for this really exciting game we have Thursday night.
This feels right. This feels correct. This feels like the Thursday night football that I've come to know and love. Is the Commanders-Bears matchup. Are you going to be going for that Keith special this weekend? The no touchdown scored?
You know what? I think this is as good of a time as any. Like, let's be honest. Like, Commanders, I'm not really too excited about their offense. And then also, listen, I mean, the Bears, maybe Justin Fields runs one in, but that's about all the offense we're going to see. So it's a perfect time for a Keith special, I think.
It is a perfect time. Sam Howell single-handedly could prevent the Commanders from scoring a touchdown if he keeps his interceptions up.
Usually a really bad quarterback is a great predictor of a Keith special where no one scores points. So
what was the game last year? Was it the Colts-Broncos Thursday night game that you got the 0 touchdowns on?
Colts Broncos, that sweat, dude, was insane because I was in a bar and I was with a group of people and I told everyone that I had bet on this game $10 and I was on the line to win $700, and Broncos marched down the field, threw it into the end zone on the final play in overtime, and then missed it, and it was pretty amazing. But it was a intense game. Who are some players that you like this game that you're gonna be playing, or if you're gonna start anyone?
Yeah, I actually like trotting out Justin Fields this week against that Commanders team. We talked about him being the one to potentially run it in. We've heard from him for weeks now that he's just going to get back to his style of football. He's going to get back to playing the way that he knows how, right? And then we saw it this weekend. He kind of took over that game, just said, screw it. We saw 2 touchdowns go to Cole Kmet, DJ Moore get more involved. I know it's Thursday night. I know this looks like a Keith special, no touchdown sweat, but Justin Fields, I'll roll him out after a great week in week 4 and hope that we get another great week in week 5. But that could just be all the teams I have with Justin Fields on it speaking.
Are you gonna play any DFS lineups for this Thursday night game? Are you thinking about it, or?
Man, I don't know. There's some fun that you can have with this lineup. You could potentially throw one of the defenses in that captain spot if you wanted to, right? In that MVP spot, the captain spot, even though they're not the best defenses, you've got offenses that have been pretty turnover prone so far this year. You can get cute with these single game slates, especially the ones where there's a lot of uncertainty, like in this Bears Commanders one. Other players on the Commander side, this Bears secondary has been terrible. So if Sam Howell looks decent, like we've seen him look in stretches, not so much this year, Terry McLaurin or maybe Jahan Dotson is like the more contrarian play you could throw into your lineup and get a little bit more out of those Commanders receivers. I'm staying away from the Bears receivers, though.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I can't believe that the Commanders are favored by 6. Like, that's a pretty big spread. I feel like I thought this game would be a little bit closer than that.
I mean, the Broncos lost by 50 to the Dolphins, and then the very next week were favored by 2.5 over the Bears and pulled off the victory. So I'm surprised it's by that much, but I'm not surprised that the Commanders are favored in this one. Whenever we're
I definitely think the Commanders are the team to beat, but I definitely don't think that it should be that big, almost a touchdown. Like, they're treating the Commanders like they're Super Bowl champs here. Like, they have traded for Patrick Mahomes or something. Like, this is a little bit too extreme, I feel like.
Right. The Bears have too much talent maybe to be 1 touchdown underdogs to another bad team. It's not like, you're right, they're not playing the Bills. They're not playing the Dolphins. They're not playing the Chiefs. Hell, like even the Saints with the defense that they have, I could see being like a touchdown favorite over the Bears. But it's a bit rich for the Commanders. Getting outside of this game. Go ahead, Keith.
Oh, no, sorry. I was just going to say, do you think Claypool's out? Do you think he's finally done with the Bears?
He's done with the Bears.
It's the nail in the coffin. Gotcha.
It sounds like he's not practicing this week. He's not going to be at the game this weekend. You can drop your Claypool in redraft and Dynasty, though. maybe go trade for some Chase Claypool before we find out where he's going to end up, because we've seen him be a very good football wide receiver.
What do you trade for him? A can of beans? I mean, like you could just there's
a third or fourth round, like a rookie pick. You could probably throw just somebody whose value is about to hit a cliff. You could trade away your aging players, your Robert Woods maybe, and get a Chase Claypool in a dynasty league.
What's crazy is that I was hearing reports out of camp that he was going to be like the favorite wide receiver of Fields, and then he just did nothing this whole season. I actually picked him up in one league, and I was like, let me see if I could hit some magic with this guy, because when he was on the Steelers, he was pretty productive for the most part, and then nothing, just totally blanked out. So
I fell for the Bears wide receiver last season with Darnell Mooney. I did not fall for the Bears wide receiver this year with Chase Claypool.
But Darnell Mooney came back later in the season and started to perform a little bit.
He did. You were a little bit late. He was the preferred wide receiver in that offense all year, but that didn't mean much when they threw the ball 12 times through the first 13 games of last year. So hopefully we see that pick up a little bit more. If the people watching, if you have questions about Thursday night's game coming up or any week 5 start sit, throw them in here. We'd be more than happy to answer any and everything that you throw our way. Keith, I wanted to talk a little bit about some stacks for this upcoming weekend that we got. I got a preferred one and then a couple others that I'll throw your way, see how you're feeling on them. My preferred stack this weekend, I'm going back to the well with a player that showed up last week. I like Joshua Dobbs of the Arizona Cardinals, plus Zach Ertz, who's been a target hog, an absolute target hog this weekend. And throw a little James Conner in there. He's quietly been an RB1 this season, just based on volume alone. You should secure most of the touchdowns there, unless Michael Wilson comes in and has an insane game again. But Dobbs has been playing pretty well.
Yeah,
I mean, know how you're feeling about that one.
I think we're all sort of surprised. I don't know if I love Joshua Dobbs, but to be honest, if you're going to be playing him in some sort of DFS lineup and you're going for a long shot, why not give it a go? I like the long shot odds probably of him throwing a couple touchdowns and surprising people. So yeah, I like that. Definitely an interesting play.
And they're going up against the Bengals with injured Joe Burrow, injured T. Higgins. This game should be closer than we think, maybe. If I'm not mistaken, right now, the Bengals are only 3-point favorites in this one. Last time I checked, over an Arizona Cardinals team that seems to be trying to tank in the most convincing way possible. I think this one stays closer than people are thinking. Dobbs is going to have to stay involved, and he's looked pretty good so far this year. And that should be a little bit contrarian. You should be able to separate yourself from the pack with that one a little bit.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think, listen, the Bengals, the best defense is an offense sometimes, and I think the Bengals are going to struggle. And we've seen that the Arizona defense is better than expected. So, with Joe Burrow struggling to throw the ball downfield, I think hardly threw any passes over 10 yards. So it's going to be a slog of a game. And I think that favors the Arizona Cardinals, to be perfectly honest. Let's be honest. That's how they've been playing these teams. They made the Cowboys slog them through that game. So they're more competitive than you'd think.
It's like they're they're getting down big, then they're just kicking dirt in the other team's eyes and running away with it. What's up, Steezy? Welcome in. We're talking some stacks right now. Appreciate you hopping on.
Man, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yep.
Okay, sorry if it's not the best. I had to switch over to my phone. Even I was having trouble with my phone as far as connecting, so I apologize for hopping on late, but how you guys doing?
Doing great. I just gave my stack for this week, Steezy. I'm curious what you think about it. In the Cardinals game against the Bengals, I threw out Josh Dobbs, Zach Ertz, and James Conner. After that big week last week, Zach Ertz has been a target machine. I'm not too scared of this Bengals defense besides Hendrickson. He's a little bit scary out there. But as a whole, it doesn't scare me off these wide receivers or quarterback matchup. How you feeling about throwing these Cardinals out there?
Man, talk about being contrarian. I absolutely love it. I was actually looking at Zach Ertz when I was writing up my bargain bin column, for the tight end spot. And when you kind of, like you talked about, you look at the target totals, he's had, I think, double-digit targets in 3 or 4 games this year. And when you look at the one game in which he didn't eclipse double-digit targets, that was a game in which they won against the Dallas Cowboys. And so passing, as far as volume, wasn't exactly required, but I think in a game in which Arizona's going to have to score some points to kind of keep up with Cincinnati, I think Zach Ertz is a great value buy at the tight end position. And like you spoke on, Joshua Dobbs, I mean, 20-plus points in 3 or 4 games this year. Whoever saw that coming? James Conner obviously has always been his usual solid self. And so I think that's a very under the radar stack and one that not a lot of people, I think, buying into. And I think they probably should.
Man, if you would have told me at the beginning of the season that I would have been better off starting Joshua Dobbs through the first 4 weeks instead of Justin Fields, I would have called you a liar. I would have punched you right in the stomach. I would have said, what do you mean my 4th round pick isn't going to be better than the backup quarterback who just got traded to the Arizona Cardinals on the worst team in the NFL? Yet here we are.
Bro, it's a surprise that he's even, I guess, still on a roster at this point. I mean, with how well he's performed, obviously he deserves to be on a roster. But when he initially got traded to the Cardinals, I was like, yo, once Kyler Murray comes back around, he's probably going to be out of a team. And so I think he's kind of played himself, into or out of that. And once Kyler Murray comes back, who knows? Maybe he's a valuable trade chip, or maybe they're just like, we're going to hold him off and we'll see what we have in Dobbs. But he's been very, very surprising, to say the least.
The value of a backup quarterback has become more and more apparent in the NFL over the last few years. We saw Nick Foles win a Super Bowl. We saw the 49ers get knocked out of the playoffs because they didn't have a competent backup, right? And we saw Tyler Huntley stand in nicely for Lamar Jackson and help secure that playoff spot that maybe they wouldn't have gotten otherwise. So I think the Cardinals probably just hold on to Dobbs, and they're thrilled they got a solid backup behind Kyler Murray, at least for the time being. Maybe he's the QB and waiting there. One more here for you, Steezy. Keith just jumped off. Thanks, Keith, for hopping on and talking some ball with us. But I got a Jets stack for this week.
Oh.
After Zach Wilson came out and looked pretty good against the Kansas City Chiefs defense, they now have a juicy matchup against that Denver Broncos D. And I'm tempted to throw Zach Wilson and Garrett Wilson out there after one good quarter of football from Zach Wilson. Steezy, talk me out of this if you think I shouldn't do it. Otherwise, we are hitting the Jet stack hard this week.
See, I don't know if I can't talk you out of it. Just because with Garrett Wilson, I think with each progressing week, I'm starting to get higher and higher on him. And so, especially with what I saw from Zach Wilson, like you just talked about, I thought it was very encouraging. And the Kansas City Chiefs defense, that hasn't been no pushover. They haven't been no slouch. And so it's not as if he performed well against the worst defense in football. I'd say Kansas City has been an above average defense, through the first month of the season. And so I know you asked me to talk you out of it. I can't do that because actually I like those plays. I didn't put Zach Wilson in my bargain bin column, but when I was scouring through the quarterbacks, I almost thought about putting Zach Wilson in there just because of what he has been doing. He's improved, I think, in the last couple of weeks, and I expect that to continue against the Denver Broncos. And so I can't fault you for that either.
Nah,
I gotta come on for this.
we got
There's
the
no way I
Jets
can.
fit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Listen, no, there's no way in heck he's a good player. Zach Wilson is trash, okay? So let's stop and act like he's a steal. Dude, I've watched this guy for three years already, and this is the first good game he's had. You're really trying to buck the trend here if you're going to play him. And listen, I hear that, BetMGM, Caesars, they all need extra money. So if you want to don't make a donation, feel free. But I don't think he's gonna turn around and have a magical turnaround. Listen, can Garrett Wilson get a touchdown and eventually put up some points? For sure. All Zach Wilson needs to do is throw it down the field and get it near Garrett Wilson, and it's a possibility there's a touchdown. But listen, I wouldn't hedge my bets and say that this is a new trend that Zach Wilson's going to become the franchise quarterback that we all wanted him to be.
The hero's journey, though, Keith. It's a Hollywood movie. The way this is shaping up, right? Aaron Rodgers goes down week 1. The forgotten and shamed Zach Wilson with no preseason first-team reps comes in. He has to be the starter. It's awful at first. It is terrible, but he leads them to a win in week 1 anyways, and then now's the redemption arc. That's the movie I'm writing in my head. It sounds like you have a scarier movie.
If the movie...
Here's those ideas.
I was going to say, if the movie ended today, it'd still be a bad movie because they still lost the game. So,
yeah, but it'd be like that trend of early 2000s Disney movies, like Eddie's $1 Million Cook-Off, where the protagonist doesn't win, but it's all about like the journey that was along the way. Know what I mean? That was a trend. Sure now children's movies are flipping back where the protagonist wins every time. But there was a period there where they were trying, I don't know what they were trying to teach us millennials in the early 2000s, but like, hey, sometimes you lose and it's okay.
I'm positive Zach has made a couple friends along the way. Aaron Rodgers, namely, but that's about it.
Just fun. I will say, in defense of Zach Wilson here, I appreciate the Jets fan coming up and just ripping him to shreds. I mentioned he did.
Oh, that's right. Keith is a Jets fan.
Keith is a Jets fan in there. He couldn't handle us talking good about Zach Wilson. This is a player who did.
That's why there was extra passion.
Exactly. Zach Wilson truly didn't have the reps with the first team during the offseason. This entire team built its plan around Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. They built the playbookers at quarterback. And now we're sitting here with Zach Wilson, who went in week one with absolutely no prep going into this year. I do think maybe he's matured. Reports out of camp and from his teammates are that he's got a better head on his shoulders going into this season. Some of the young man arrogance that comes along with being 21 in the NFL is dissipating, and the improvement over 4 weeks is promising for me. So maybe this is putting the cart before the horse a little bit, but I'm willing to throw a couple lineups out there with Mr. Wilson in them.
Yeah, and Simon, to your point, I don't know if you saw this. You probably did because this was trending, but there was a clip right after they lost to the Chiefs that kind of went viral, and it was Zach Wilson telling his teammates, "Yo, it's my fault that we lost, dog." And I know that might seem minuscule just because we see players do that all the time, but for a guy like Zach Wilson, that's absolutely huge. And to Keith, I know you're listening. I don't want you to get it twisted. I'm not saying, go ahead and rush to putting Zach Wilson into all your lineups. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that if you're looking for a dart throw, if you're looking for a bargain bin type buy, if you like to save money at quarterback, Zach Wilson is a guy to consider. I mean, the Denver Broncos defense is just reeling right now, and I don't see it getting any better. And then just released Randy Gregory like an hour ago. And so that defense, it's going to get worse before it gets better. If Zach Wilson is going to perform, it's going to be this week. And so, again, I'm not mad at you with that. And just the signs of improvement, the signs of maturity, I think it's starting to, to come together, and it's only going to get better moving on. And against a defense as bad as Denver's, I don't see how it doesn't.
Man, Keith over there just laughing to himself as I go and put in my lineups. He's gonna watch his game on Sunday and be like, "You fool! I told you Zach Wilson was garbage."
I tried to tell you I was on the Wednesday show.
Yeah, Simon, send Venmo the money to me, and I'll put it in for you. And when you lose, it'll be fine.
You'll pay out the equivalent of what I would have won. Keith just taking that money right there. Well, before we move on, we had some questions coming here in the chat. First, our friend Better Boss, what's up, Matt? Saying, I'm just waiting for Cincy to put Burrow on IR. Their O-line is terrible, and he's taking a beating. Steezy, you think that's a possibility that we see Joe Burrow get put on IR? Maybe the Bengals just say, hey, we're out of this for this year.
I think until they lose a couple more games, then that becomes, somewhat of a possibility. But right now, nah, there's no way. I mean, you just signed him to the richest contract in NFL history. I understand the situation around him isn't ideal nor optimal, but you got to ride this out. He got to go through some more adversity.
Man, but that team is getting beat up, man. T. Higgins out. O-line getting more injured every week. Joe Burrow not doing so well. We'll have to hope. JAC in here had a trade question for us. Wanted to know, should I trade Ramondre Stevenson for Hollywood Brown? So Ramondre has had to compete with Zeke for some touches over the past couple weeks here after a quiet week one from Zeke. Steezy, you making this move or you holding on to Ramondre?
See, when it comes to questions like this, I'd always appreciate it if there's a little bit of context.
So we got
I'm not saying I can answer the
PPR.
question.
That's a little bit more context, but not too much more on the rest of the team build.
Okay, so 0.7. Oh, okay, interesting. 0.75 PPR. See, if I needed a receiver, because he has been performing like a wide receiver 3/flex, if not a low-end wide receiver 2. I've actually been very, very impressed with Hollywood Brown and how he's been performing statistically with Josh Dobbs and the Arizona Cardinals. Straight up, without any sort of additional context, straight up, I'm not. Just because I do think that Ramondre is due to bounce back, and I do think that throughout the course of the season, he's going to be the more valuable player. But if you have a running back or two to spare and you need another wide receiver, make the trade. But as far as just straight up, no additional context, I'm not making this deal.
Man, the one thing, I think I'm on the other side of this one. I think I'm taking Hollywood Brown. He's had a quiet week one, but since then has been pretty consistent with Joshua Dobbs out there. If we hadn't gotten the report that Kyler Murray's return was unknown, I'd probably be on the Ramondre side here. But for the foreseeable future, Joshua Dobbs is the quarterback there, and he likes Marquise Hollywood Brown. And I think maybe I'm a bit more concerned about Zeke than you are. Zeke is still a good running back, and we thought he was dead, but he's not, man. He's showing up, and Bill Belichick loves to take running backs that fantasy managers think have a safe workload and absolutely demolish that for us. So this is close. JAC, I think this is a fair trade both ways. And like Steezy said, in a vacuum, I'm probably going Hollywood Brown, but you show me your roster and you are weak at running back, this is an easy flip to the other side.
No doubt. And real quick, Simon, I just think that with Ramondre, the matchups just haven't been there. I mean, New England's out here getting blown out. I understand he is the guy out of the backfield to catch passes, and so maybe he should be contributing a little bit more in that regard. But I mean, Dallas last week, they've had the Jets. I just think that the matchups haven't been there. Once the matchups get easier and they start piling on a few more dubs, maybe his outlook gets a little better, but I do think that is a fair concern with the whole Zeke thing. So, again, you can't really go wrong with that trade. We appreciate the question, JAC.
Absolutely, JC. Before we get on some week 5 lines, Steezy, I wanted to talk to you about something that is an emerging topic, something that fantasy managers need to pay attention to this week before it's too late, and that is the return of Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp is expected to be able to play again at practice this week and could be back in game action as early as this weekend against the Philadelphia Eagles. Puka Nacua has been not just good to start the year, but unreal to start the year, right? He's currently sitting as the wide receiver 4 in PPR leagues, almost 100 points. He's up there with guys like Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, Devontae Adams. There's Puka Nacua's name right in the middle of all of it. Seeing like 13 targets a week on average. He's got that 20-target game. But here comes Cooper Kupp, who averaged 11.8 targets a game last season. Matthew Stafford's favorite target. Steezy, what are you doing with Puka this week before Cooper Kupp comes back? Are you holding on, thinking you're still going to get maybe lesser but still fantasy value? Or are you trying to trade him away?
Man, hold on to all your shares of Puka freaking Nacua. I understand, and a lot of people have been asking me this question, off air, off camera, and whatnot. And I get it. Look, I understand the logic and the reasoning, the rationale behind selling high on the Puka Nacua, but people also forget that the Rams are 12th in the NFL in scoring at just over 24 points a game, about 24 and a half, and that's without a Cooper Kupp. That's without one of the best receivers in all of football. So you kind of plug him into the lineup. I do think that this offense can support 2 top 15, 2 top 18-ish wide receivers. We understand that Cooper Kupp has been injury prone in recent years, and because he's been dealing with the hamstring injury, and because those injuries tend to linger throughout the season, I do think that while they're not going to admit that he's going to be on a pitch count for the first couple of weeks upon his arrival or his return, I do think that he won't be playing the full allotment of snaps for the first couple of weeks. And I do think that once he does start to ramp up activity, his presence is only going to open up less coverage on the side of a Puka. Maybe the volume, the monster volume, the 15-plus targets in any given week, maybe that's no longer there. But I do think that anywhere from 8 to 12, maybe 8 to 13 targets a game is still feasible and realistic. This team is going to be passing a lot. This team is going to be scoring a lot of points. And, again, I do think that they can't support 2 receivers. And so for the time being, I'm still starting Puka Nacua. He's a top 10 wide receiver for me this week against the Philadelphia Eagles that's ranked outside the top 25 in passing up to date. And so they've been struggling. Their secondary has not been what it has been, at least what we're accustomed to seeing. And I do think they'll pick it up. But for the time being, I'm holding on to Puka. Once Cooper gets acclimated, I'm still holding on to Puka. I do think that he can still retain early wide receiver 3, maybe low-end wide receiver 2 value. But, again, this offense can do enough to support 2 top 18 wide receivers.
Man, I think I'm with you, Steezy. I think Puka is still going to have some value, but I do think I'm a little bit lower on him. I look back to the 2021 season where Cooper Kupp played the entire year, right? He got injured last year. He had 191 targets. The next highest target leader on that team was Van Jefferson at 89. Now, don't get me wrong. I think Puka Nacua is much better than Van Jefferson. I don't think the gap is going to be that big. But am I going to be shocked if Cooper Kupp has 80 more targets over the rest of the season or 50 more targets over the rest of the season? Absolutely not. So that safety you got from the volume of Puka Nacua is going away. He has not been a touchdown guy. He's a top 5 PPR wide receiver with only 1 touchdown this far on the season. And if you think Cooper Kupp's return is going to lead to more touchdowns for him, Cooper Kupp is Matthew Stafford's favorite red zone target. Like, that's the dude that he's looking for. So I think the consistency is what's going to go away here. You're still going to get some big games out of him, but it's not going to be every week you're thrilled with him out there. But with Cooper Kupp coming back, I don't think you're going to get enough trying to trade him. Everyone knows Cooper Kupp is coming back. You're not pulling one over on your league mates. So you're better off just holding him and keeping him in your lineup as a wide receiver 3, maybe with some upside, whereas right now he's sitting at wide receiver 1.
Yeah, it's not like people invested a high-end draft pick in a Puka Nacua anyway. I mean, chances are you got him off the waiver wire after week 1 for nothing, or maybe a good chunk of your free agency budget. But I think when you kind of look at it from that perspective, you didn't use much to get him anyway. And so in trying to get off of him, you're not going to get wide receiver 1 value in return. So I think you're better off, like you said, just holding on to him. And when those big games come, because they will come, you'll be surprised.
Man, the Rams have been a waiver wire gift this year. I'm just thinking about all those vampire leagues out there. You ever heard of a vampire league, Steezy?
It sounds familiar.
So, like, there'll be 12
I've
teams.
definitely heard of it.
11 teams will draft, and then one team creates their team off of only waiver wire guys. And then every single week, they've got first access to the waiver wire. They can take whoever they want off the waiver wire before anybody else does. If they beat you, they get to steal one player from your team. And it goes like this throughout the season to see if the vampire team that started with only waiver wire guys can steal enough wins to build this super team by the end of the year. It starts snowballing. But this year's a pretty good year for it. You could have Kyron Williams and Devon Chan and Raheem Mostert and Puka Nacua and Tutu Atwell, Josh Dobbs. Like, you could put together a damn good team in a vampire league this year.
Zach Ertz at tight end.
Yeah, you're set. You're absolutely set.
And then, are you starting kickers and defenses in a vampire type setting as well?
I hope not. That sounds like too much for a vampire league. I'm not in one this year, but that sounds like too much.
The only reason why I brought that up is because the Rams would have another candidate, their kicker, Brett Maher. And I understand kickers and defenses aren't super popular, but Brett Maher is a second-ranked kicker in fantasy right now, for what that's worth.
And if kickers are in your league, kickers matter. I just lost a matchup because my opponent started the freaking Cowboys defense, and I had the Steelers defense. It was a difference in the game right there. You got to make it happen.
Oh, yeah, the Steelers, I think, had -6, and then the Cowboys had 20+. Yeah. And so there's a way too big of a difference.
28 to -6 didn't do many favors for me. A 34-point swing just from my defenses was difficult to come back from.
That's massive.
All right, well, Steezy, we are going to get into a game of Fantasy Feud here. Our friend producer Keith is coming up to play along with us. Before we get into that, though, I wanted to remind everybody about the Fantasy Sports Logic Contrarian Edge Optimizer. I've been using that to help me find some of those 6 stacks, some contrarian picks going into each and every week. And as we head into week 5, you can start a 7-day free trial for only $1. Scan that QR code on the screen, try it out, and get some of those week 5 lineups in ahead of Thursday Night Football. Keith, your first time playing a game on here. You ready?
I know, it's pretty Steezy. If you lose, man, this is gonna look bad for you. Because
stakes are high for one of you.
I might take it I might go a little easy though. I might go a little easy. We'll see.
Steezy putting the training wheels on.
Simon, if I buzz in and say Steezy's name, does he have to answer the question?
Yeah, absolutely.
That should be a new rule, I feel like.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine.
All right, well, everybody watching, if you've never played this with us before, we got some Fantasy Feud for you. I'm going to have 7 questions, like name the top 7 PPR running backs from week 4. If you think you can name all of them, you buzz in by saying your name. You're going to have 3 strikes. That is 3 wrong attempts to name all of the players and or teams and or games that I'm asking you to mention. If you get all of them, you're going to earn all those points. But if you get 3 strikes before you get the last one, your opponent will have the opportunity to steal each and every single one of those points just by naming one that you haven't named. We'll go like this through 4 rounds. Whoever's got the most points at the end is our Fantasy Fortune champion or Fantasy Feud champion for today. You guys ready?
Yes, sir.
Steezy's 1-1. Keith starting with a clean slate. 0-0 on this one. We'll see if we can get it done. Here is your first prompt. Name the 7 players most favored to be an anytime touchdown scorer in the Bears at Commanders Thursday Night Football game, according to FanDuel Sportsbook.
Ooh. Steezy.
Okay, Steezy, I need the 7 players that are at the top of that list. Best odds, meaning most likely to happen.
And then real quick, quarterbacks included?
So quarterbacks are included, but not for passing touchdowns, only for rushing
not for
or
passing.
receiving. So this is the person who controls the ball entering the end zone is the person who gets credit as an anytime touchdown scorer.
Okay, well, I'm glad I asked because I mean, Justin Fields obviously has that rushing upside. I'm gonna start with him, Justin Fields.
He's third on the list at plus 165 to be an anytime touchdown scorer. That is 1 correct, no strikes.
Okay, and then let's go with, man, he got some rushing upside himself. I'm gonna go with the other quarterback of the team that's playing on Thursday Night Football. I'm gonna go with Sam Howell.
Sam Howell is right outside of this top 7. Number 9. I apologize, Steezy. That is 1 strike.
Hey, it's all good. I got some more on my ammo. Let's go with Terry McLaurin.
Terry McLaurin is on this list, the second best odds at plus 145, just ahead of Justin Fields.
Okay, and then let's go with Cole Kmet.
Cole Kmet, I'm sorry, is not on this list. Is sitting down at plus 260.
Okay.
There are 10 players ahead of Cole Kmet on the list.
10?
Yeah.
After the game that he just had?
I know, right? So that is 2 strikes, Steezy. You got 2 right, 2 strikes. Who else is it going to be?
Okay, let's go with DJ Moore.
DJ Moore is number 5 on this list at plus 200.
Okay, let's go with B-Rob. Brian Robinson.
B-Rob is number 1 on the list. The only one with minus odds, sitting at minus 140. There are 3 remaining. You've got 2 strikes. Any more strikes, Keith's going to get the opportunity to steal this.
All right. Okay, so I said Cole Kmet. Let's go with Jahan Dotson.
Jahan Dotson, number 4 on this list at plus 170. 2 left, just number 6 and 7 now, and they're technically tied. So it's 2 number 6s.
Okay. All right, let's go with man, this is kind of a gamble here, but I'm running out of names. So let's go with Logan Thomas.
Logan Thomas is not on this list. I apologize. He's right outside number 8 on the list at plus 230, which means 3 strikes. Keith, there are 2 names left on this list. You get either one right, you're going to steal 6 points. Otherwise, Steezy's taking an early 5-0 lead.
All right. I'm going to go with Curtis Samuel.
Curtis Samuel, phenomenal guess, but tied with Logan Thomas and Sam Howell for number 8 right there. You were right outside the edge between Steezy. You are sneaking away with 5 points here. Keith's 0 after that one. You guys got any more guesses about who those last names are?
Yeah. Well, Keith, did you have any?
Yeah, I was going to say maybe Darnell Mooney or
no Darnell Mooney.
No, 2. Yeah.
It's running backs. We got
Khalil
Herbert is the next one. Herbert. We got that, Steezy. And then it's one more running back sitting down there tied with Khalil Herbert.
Antonio Gibson?
It's
Antonio Gibson. I was surprised to see
Antonio Gibson
right ahead of Logan Thomas, ahead of Cole Kmet, ahead of Sam Howell. They got Antonio Gibson at plus 220, tied with Khalil Herbert.
Bro, he hasn't done anything all year long.
No, he's done nothing. Keith, I'm curious if they even have the no touchdown sweat listed in this one. Trying to see if I can find it. If there is no touchdown, I don't even see it. Let's see. Correct score. Is there a 0-0 option? Because you were calling for that earlier.
Yeah. Well, listen, if you have Antonio Gibson in your top 7 fantasies first touchdown scorers, you know there's a problem and there's not going to be a lot of scoring in this game. So
yeah, that might be the move.
That's probably the house knows not to put that out there because too many people are going to bet on that.
Any of these names that you guys like? I kind of like Justin Fields at plus 165 to be an anytime scorer. The way he was running everywhere in that last game against this defense, I don't mind that one. The rest I'm probably staying away from. I don't think there's a lot of touchdowns to go around in this game.
I think for me, I was going to say Justin Fields. I'd say B-Rob. I just think that every running back that's kind of gone up against the Chicago Bears this year, you look at Aaron Jones, you look at Isaiah Pacheco, heck, even Clyde Edwards-Helaire got into the party last week. Jaleel McLaughlin of the Broncos, and I just think that once you see the Chicago Bears, on the schedule, and if you're a running back, that means it's time for you to feast. And so I like B-Rob there. Another guy, DJ Moore, I think he's starting to finally come on. He's getting hot at the right time. I think with the Bears kind of what's his name, exiling Chase Claypool. That kind of opens up a little more opportunity as far as snaps. And so DJ Moore, B. Rob, and Justin Fields. Those are the guys I like.
DJ Moore, B. Rob, and Justin Fields, throw it out there. Well, Steezy, you got an early lead here, 5-0 before we move on to our next one. Keith, Steezy, you ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
Here's what we got. Name the 6 players most favored to lead the league in regular season interceptions, according to the FanDuel Sportsbook.
Man, I'm okay.
Who's it going to be?
You said 6 guys, right?
6, yeah.
Okay, Steezy.
Okay, Keith is playing the steal strategy, is what he's got going on.
I'm gonna get that.
Okay, it's not a bad idea, by the way. But I'm gonna start off with Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones is number 6 on this list at plus 1,000.
Wow, he's only 6. Okay. Let me go with.
So, all right, let me just interrupt this. I thought this was cornerbacks, and I was like, all right. That's what threw me off. I was like, I'm not going to name all these cornerbacks. There's
He's
no way.
Sitting there like Sauce Gardner and I don't know. Diggs is injured.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what's going through my mind.
Let me go. Kenny Pickett.
Kenny Pickett is not on this list.
Ooh, okay. Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow is not on this list. That is 2 strikes early for you, Steezy.
Okay. Gosh. Okay. I hate to bag on a rookie because he hasn't been impressive, to say the least. But let me go with Bryce Young.
Bryce Young is not on this list, which means 3 strikes. If you can name any quarterback, Keith, of the other 5, you will steal 2 points and get on the board.
All right. So Steezy said Bryce Young. What was the other names he said? I'm sorry. Bryce Young.
Kenny Pickett.
Daniel Jones.
Wow.
What was the other one?
Joe Burrow.
I'm gonna go.
Joe Burrow was the other one he said. That's right.
To lead the league in regular season interceptions. All right. I'll go with Zach Wilson.
Zach Wilson at plus 900 is number 4 on this list.
Zach
Wilson's 8 is earning you some points, Keith.
You know what? Zach Wilson's a good guy. I like him after all. He's
The other names on this list, sitting at number 1 ahead of everybody else, is Josh Allen. Josh Allen is at 600 to lead the league in interceptions. And then right after him, perennial interception thrower, Matthew Stafford at plus 700, sitting right there. We got the aforementioned Sam Howell, 3rd on this list at plus 800. He threw like 8 in one game, so that might be enough to get him up there alone. And then tied with Daniel Jones at 5th and 6th on this list is Kirk Cousins at plus 1,000.
Kirk?
The other names we got,
names.
Kenny Pickett at plus 2,000, a bunch of names ahead of him, Bryce Young and Joe Burrow all at plus 2,000. So you were loving those plus 2,000 guys to lead the league, Steezy.
Hey, I'd actually make those bets in real life. So if y'all listening, man, those are some names to watch out for.
So it definitely the thing that throws this survey off is that it's all about people who throw the ball a lot and not about people who stink, because people who stink don't get the chance to throw the ball. So it almost backfired with me on Zach Wilson because they didn't really let him throw the ball a lot before. So,
but he has such a negative public perception that the sports books are willing to put him up there as an interceptions leader. I'm with you. I think there's no way he actually leads the league in interceptions. They're not going to let him throw the ball enough to do it, even if he has one of the highest interception rates in the league. But some of these other names, I don't mind. Stafford at plus 700. I know he's 2nd on this list, but that seems like a little bit of a deal. He should be sitting up there at least tied with Josh Allen for 1st overall. That dude loves an interception.
So?
I think so, man.
Wow. Even with Cooper Kupp coming back,
he led the league in interceptions with Cooper Kupp on that team. I think he can do it again. I believe in you, Stafford.
Right, I'm a Seahawk guy. I don't know why I'm defending the Rams. Never mind.
Take it right.
So right now, who do you think is in the lead with the most interceptions?
Ooh,
Sam Howell.
Nope.
Is it Josh Allen?
He's tied for 3rd. It is not Josh Allen. Nope.
Is it Desmond Ridder?
He is. No, it's
no.
not.
Actually, he hasn't accumulated enough volume. I'm sure.
So Steezy was right. Number 1 right now, tied for 1st, is Daniel Jones and then Jimmy G. And then following that out is Justin Fields, Matthew Stafford, and then Sam Howell. and they're
Okay.
all tied.
Well, Jimmy G and Justin Fields both sitting at plus 1,200. They were the next two guys on this list to be the interceptions leader. But I think we got the same problem with those two guys. I don't think they're gonna chuck the ball enough for them to be the interceptions leader. And I think Jimmy G's too boring to lead the league in interceptions. He's not exciting enough. He's no Jameis out there chucking the ball 50 times a game, no care at all for if it's going to be intercepted or not.
And heck, we don't know if he's going to play enough games.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
We don't know if he's going to be out there.
I was going to say James could fill in for Derek Carr and still be the interceptions leader. Just one game.
Oh, not my man, James.
I just want some Jameis starting in the league so bad. The NFL is more fun when Jameis Winston is a starting quarterback. That dude, who was I think it was Foster Moreau. I was watching an interview with him, and they were asking him like what Jameis Winston is like as a teammate. And he's like, I haven't been there long, but that dude's wild, man. He's like, that dude. He's like, the story is something like they're going out there to like knee the ball down at the end of practice, and Jameis is leading it. And he gets in the huddle and just like is hyping everyone up, like getting them psyched. And this is to knee the ball at practice, right? To end the practice. And like at the end, and he just looked around like, what the hell was that? But Jameis is apparently that dude for his teammates. He's out there. It doesn't matter what's going on. He's getting everyone hyped up.
Awesome.
Hey, you love to hear it. Everybody needs a hype man.
All right. Well, Keith, you are in this game. It is 5-2 after 2 rounds. We got another one coming your way, though. You ready for round 3?
Keep them coming.
Do it.
Name the 7 running backs that are currently top 12 PPR running backs that had an ADP outside the top 24 running backs.
Ooh, okay. Ooh, outside of the top 24. There's 7 of them?
There's 7. 7 of the top 12 PPR running backs through 4 weeks were drafted outside the top 24.
Okay, Steezy.
Okay, Steezy, give it a shot here.
Okay, so Kyron Williams.
With the steal strategy again. Kyron Williams, currently the number 3 running back, was drafted as the 81st running back off the board during draft season.
Let's go with Brian Robinson.
Brian Robinson, currently the 8th running back, drafted as the 36th running back off the board. That is 2 correct.
And this is outside of the top 12, right? Or in the top 12, I mean.
In the top 12, but drafted outside of the top 24 running backs. So they weren't even drafted as an RB2, and they're currently sitting in the top 12 in PPR.
Ooh, I got another. David Montgomery.
David Montgomery is currently RB10 and was drafted as RB31. So nice job, Steezy.
Okay, all right. And then let's go with Raheem Mostert.
Raheem Mostert, currently the RB2, drafted as the RB41 on draft day.
And then, of course, can't forget his teammate, Devin Achane.
Devon Achane, RB4 right now, drafted right before Raheem Mostert at RB40. So there are 2 left, no strikes. Number 5 and number 7 are still sitting there.
Ooh, okay. And then let's go with
He'd start brainstorming in case he misses these.
I'm trying.
He said, I'm trying. Oh, man. I think he was – I'm just going to say his name. James Cook?
James Cook, currently the 12th running back in PPR leagues, drafted as the 27th running back off the board. Easy. That was the trickiest one of all because he's barely in the top 12 and almost was a top 24 running back getting drafted, but you found it anyways. There's one left.
Oh, one left. Okay.
No strikes. You got 3 tries to get this one.
Okay. Man, who else? Damn it. I'm starting to run out of
I'm going to bonk you if you take too long. We'll give you an X if you don't name a player here.
I'm going to just guess one, but Zach Moss.
Zach Moss, not on this list, unfortunately. He was drafted outside the top 24, but not a top 12 back right now.
True. Okay. Damn it. You know, I'm going to have to concede here.
Oh, he's waving it. With 2 strikes left to give, giving Keith a shot. Keith, you get 1 guess here. If you get it right, you're going to steal 7 points and take the lead. If you get it wrong, Steezy's going to take a commanding lead here.
I'm trying to think about all the players with decent running backs that sort of came out of nowhere. And oh man, this is a tough question, and I know
This
I'm
is a
gonna get
great
it
question, though. I like
wrong.
this one.
Geez. All right. So I have to think of someone who is. I'm going to stall for a little bit of time here. Sorry, I was thinking the whole time,
Be an
and all I
expert
was thinking
staller.
was blank, 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 blank. nothing.
You're thinking,
So
ooh, good guess,
literally,
Steezy.
yeah. I was hoping that he would forget about Achan after he's named Mostert.
And then I named him right after.
Yes. I was like, man, if he misses this, I got it. It's in the bag. Oh man. Who's let's think. Seahawks. Geez. All right. I'm just gonna oh man, this is a tough question for me. I'm just gonna say Rashad White. I can't think of anyone right now.
Rashad White, unfortunately, is incorrect. I wish it was right with the amount of Rashad White I had.
I wish it was right.
I had a guess. I don't know. I couldn't think of anyone.
Well, Steezy, you are going to earn 6 points here. And the last one that you guys missed, DeAndre Swift, drafted as the running back.
Oh, that's right.
Running back kind of snuck in there with a big name, but his value suppressed.
There you go. Okay. I just couldn't figure it out. But okay, I got you.
You think DeAndre Swift's going to keep this up rest of the season, or is he going to fall out of those top 12 running backs?
Man, honestly, I don't see a scenario in which he doesn't, just because, I mean, the competition, or at least what we thought was competition for him, Rashad Penny, has been a healthy and active. Kenneth Gainwell didn't have much of a role in his first game back. He's having a lot of success behind that offensive line, and they're undefeated. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? I'd say yes.
You gotta worry about the injury bug, though. You have to hope that he doesn't get injured. That's the only way he doesn't stay in the top 10. If he gets injured, without a doubt, it's over, and he's not going to make it, even no matter how well he's been running early on.
Yeah, we'll just slowly watch him sink in those rankings as the injury piles on and on. Though, I mean, Cooper Kupp last year, do you remember that? He got injured, and then he stayed like a top 10 PPR wide receiver for like 4 weeks, it felt like he just was so far ahead of everybody that each week, like, one more person would pass him instead of like 20, like normally happens.
Right. That was like Achan. Like, he was like a top 2 running back after that one game. Like, it was insane. He scored like 50 points. It was nuts.
Yeah, he had 1.9 points going into that week, and then all of a sudden he was a top 3 PPR running back after one big game. Well, guys, we got one more prompt here. Keith, you can't win, but you can save some face with this one. But you're on the board. You know what? You didn't get skunked up here coming up with no call. saying you were going to get your ass kicked, and then
well, I am. But you know what? I made friends along the way, as Zach Wilson did. So that's all that matters, right?
All right. Well, here's your last prompt in today's game. This one's a little tough. I need you to name the 6 Week 5 games where the spread is a field goal or less, according to the FanDuel Sportsbook. So these are the 6 games that are close this week.
Oh my God.
Wow. Okay. Field goal or less.
So that would be 3 points or less on the spread there.
Okay, Steezy.
Okay, Steezy's playing. Beat you just barely. Buzzer beater ahead of Keith on that one. Steezy.
All right, let's go. So for my first matchup, we're going to go with the Saints at the Patriots.
The Saints at the Patriots. The Saints are 1-point favorites in that one. So that is correct, Steezy.
Okay, that's essentially a pick 'em. Let's go the Titans at the Colts.
The Colts are 1.5-point favorites at home against the Tennessee Titans. Nice job. That is 2 correct.
Okay, let's go with Houston at Atlanta.
Falcons are 2.5-point favorites in that one. And I'm not sure how I feel about that, given the way CJ Stroud's been playing. I might sprinkle some on Houston as 2.5-point dogs on that one.
Oh, easily.
Houston money line.
I love that for Houston. I'm taking the Houston money line as well. That's 3 matchups down, right?
That's 3 down, 3 to go, no strikes.
Okay, let's go with Chicago at Washington.
Fortunately, that is incorrect, Steezy. Chicago at Washington. Let's see what that line is at. It's at 5.5 right now. 5.5-point favorites for the Commanders. Even though we're talking about that a little bit earlier, seems like a big spread for a Commanders team that hasn't been that impressive so far. But I guess the Chicago D is just that bad.
My gosh, that's a little too much for me. Let's go with Philadelphia, LA.
Philadelphia, LA, unfortunately, is incorrect as well.
Ah.
4.5-point favorites are the Eagles, which means that is 2 strikes. You got 3 right, but 1 more wrong, and Keith's going to have the opportunity to steal.
Ooh, boy. Okay. I'm down to 2 matchups here. I think I'm going to roll with the Jets at the Broncos.
Broncos are 1.5-point favorites against the New York Jets. That is absolutely correct. And I bet Keith was holding on to that one, hoping you wouldn't get it.
And Zach Wilson was involved, so I had to take that one. Let me see. I got 1 more, right? Or there's
2 more.
1 or 2? 2 more. 2 more. Gosh, let's go with Baltimore, Pittsburgh.
Baltimore, Pittsburgh, unfortunately, is incorrect.
Okay.
That is that your 3rd strike there on that one? That is your 3rd strike, Steezy. Baltimore are 4.5-point. Wait, no, I'm looking at the wrong game. Baltimore are 4-point favorites against the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're 4.5-point favorites next week, if anyone cares, but 4-point favorites this week. Keith, there's 2 left on this list. If you steal, you're going to get 4 points. Can you name either of the 2 games that have a 3-point spread or lower?
I'm going to go with Cowboys 49ers.
Cowboys 49ers, unfortunately, is incorrect.
Come on, man. That's a good guess, I think.
3.5 points for the 49ers. You lost it by 0.5 point on that one, but that was a really good guess.
You know what, Steezy, I'm coming to Seattle. Can take you out after this embarrassing loss. I'm looking up flights right now, going on kayak, and we'll sort this out man on man. Okay.
Hey, that sounds good. Sounds like a plan.
Steezy wins 14-2 for the time being until Keith gets to Seattle. Maybe that score changes once he gets there. The other 2, Keith, I thought you were going to get this one because we talked about it a little bit earlier on the show before Steezy got in here. Cincinnati Bengals at the Arizona Cardinals. The Bengals are only 3-point favorites. That seems wild, doesn't it? Steezy, how do you feel about the Bengals only being 3-point favorites against this Cardinals team?
Honestly, I'm not mad. I'm really not. We don't know if T. Higgins is going to play. All the reports are saying that Joe Burrow is going to play, but at this point, are you better off with him not playing? I mean, I know I stated a case for him to keep playing, but at this point, given his struggles, given the injuries, with T. Higgins, Jamar Chase hasn't completely been himself. I know the last couple of weeks he's been bouncing back statistically, but I'm not mad at it. Arizona surprised a lot of people. They've defeated the Dallas Cowboys, and they've played a lot of teams tough. They weren't going to beat San Fran, but I thought that they played San Fran pretty tough last week, and so no, I'm not mad at it. And Arizona's at home too, so I'm not mad. I'm a little surprised, but I'm not mad.
Man, if Joe Burrow doesn't play, who are we getting in? Jake Browning, the rookie? Is that who's the backup on that depth chart? I think they got A.J. McCarron on the practice squad, but that would be real rough for that Bengals team. Keith, thank you for coming up and playing some Fantasy Feud with us today. Got on the board 2 points. Not bad.
You know what? My favorite player's number, Zach Wilson. So you know what? I can't be
okay.
mad at it.
Number 2.
We're both losers.
Both losers on this blessed day. The joy it is to be a Jets fan. Man. Before we get out of here, we're wrapping up the show right now. We had one question in here that I wanted to hit real quick. Steezy, our friend. I'm going to pronounce this Asdafgahop. Our friend Asdafgahop, I think that's German, wanted to know, should I give up Saquon Barkley to get Jamar Chase? Are you making this move? Are you trading an injured Saquon Barkley to get Jamar Chase in this struggling Bengals offense?
Oh, my gosh. Wow, that's
tough.
That is tough. I guess just straight up, without any sort of roster context, I'm making this move, regardless of the needs or however my roster is constructed. I just think that season long, Jamar Chase doesn't have the same sort of injury bug that Saquon does have, and he's just a better player. I mean, you were taking Jamar Chase top 3 in drafts, all your drafts. Barkley was probably going top 12, top 15-ish, and I'm gonna have to go Jamar Chase. Yeah. I'm with
you. I'm taking Jamar Chase here. I feel a little bit safer. I know that offense is scary right now, the Bengals offense, but so is the Giants offense. That offensive line is doing their best to get the quarterback and any running back touching the ball behind the line of scrimmage murdered. on every
Right.
play. Like, that's what it looks like. It looks like they hate Daniel Jones and they're trying to get him killed on the football field. And it'll probably look similarly with Saquon Barkley, though. Barkley's got a little more juice to get out of the backfield than Daniel Jones does. But yeah, I'm taking Jamar Chase here as well, especially with it being that full PPR league, ASD, AF, G Hop. Get that in for you. All right, well, guys, that's going to be it for us today. We'll be back next week, same time, same place, to help you with all of your week 6 start sits, lines, anything you're looking at going into week 6. If you're not following Steezy, go and follow him on Twitter right now at Steezy A. Smith. You can find me on Twitter at FYF Simon. And make sure you're following Sportstopia on Twitter at Sportstopia HQ, Instagram, YouTube as well. And get that 7-day free trial of the Contrarian Edge Optimizer loaded up right now. It's $1, 7 days, and you can get your week 5 lineups ready to go. I think that's going to be it for us today, though, Steezy.
Yes, sir, Simon. That was a great show.
That's it. Everybody watching, we'll be back on another time. Until then, though, we are out of here. Enjoy your Wednesday and enjoy your Thursday night football, as difficult as it may be with that matchup. Adios, everyone.
Peace.